Welcome to the World of Book Reviews. I'm Judi Moreo and I'm your host, and our guest tonight is Tami Belt, and Tami has written this beautiful book called Poetic Justice, Lessons of Love, Life, and Relationships. And tell us about why you wrote the book. It's a book of poetry, right?
Yes. I started writing poems when I was 12. Actually, the poems wrote me. Yeah, they did. I thought poetry was foo-foo, and I was kind of a tomboy and into sports and stuff. And these poems started pouring out of me at times when I felt overwhelmed and when I didn't think that anybody could understand me or nobody would listen. The poems just started coming out of me. And I would write so fast that I'd have to go back and rewrite it so I could remember what it said, because they'd just be scribbled. And so that is close to the beginning of my writing career.
Amazing. How many poems are in this book?
Oh my gosh, I didn't count them.
Oh, okay. Because it looks to me like there's hundreds.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not even all my poems.
How long have you been writing?
Since I was 12. But I stopped. The poems stopped coming when I was probably in my 30s. And I've written very, very few since then. They just don't come. And it's okay, because if they need to, they'll come back. There was a point when I quit writing, and a friend of mine goes, "You can't stop writing these. You can't." And she was very indignant and very, very upset. And so I wrote a poem called Poets Are Madmen. And I said, this is why I don't write anymore. It's poets are madmen who see visions and dreams. They look inside of souls and tell you what it means. Psychotic little world that no one can understand. They bring the masses to their knees. It's a universal plan. And it was about the place that writing took me. You'd have to go so deep. Sometimes it would hurt. Sometimes it would be in love, you know, but sometimes it was betrayal and friendship. It's just all the human emotions that you go through, you know. Love and breakups and friendships and life, you know, it's just life. And especially when you're a teenage girl, when I started writing, you're like, oh, nobody can understand me. No one will listen to me. You know, so I wrote, and I didn't let anybody read them for years. And there were very few people before I published the book there was probably only 2 or 3 people that had read all my poems. And the one who goes, "You can't stop writing." Yeah, I did, and it just stopped. But I decided that stories saved my life. And to look at the poems years later and reflect on what I'd been through and what I experienced, and to see it from a different perspective, to see it from a 20, a 30, a 40, a 50-year-old woman's eyes, instead of a 12-year-old. When you know more, you see things different, and perspectives would change. So the stories would change. And it's so important to express yourself, and once it's out, the reflection that you have back, when you're able to see things differently, keeps you from falling into traps and victimhood and just traps that we fall into. So you don't continue the same patterns. You're able to learn a lesson and grow and move on. So that's why I published it. It wasn't about, oh, look at my poems. No, I didn't.
Is it a book that young girls could read and understand that maybe their feelings are okay because you had the same feelings?
Yes, yes. It is so important. Everybody needs to feel seen, heard, and understood. You have to, it's human nature. You have to feel seen, heard, and understood. And again, I didn't think anybody would hear me, so I wrote it down. I told the universe, but I felt okay. And it's been amazing that since I published the book, you know how you become friends with people on Facebook that you haven't seen since junior high or high school. Well, they were like, oh my gosh, you have a book. Because people like look at you different. And I'm like, I wrote them, you know, I've been writing that since I was 12. And they read it and they're like, oh my God. And their reactions to it, it's just, some of them were in tears. One of my friends had just lost the love of her life, he had a massive heart attack and he passed away, just totally unexpectedly. And I went to go see her, and right after I saw her to see him, he passed that day, and I gave her the book. I said, just read this. And I didn't even know why I did it. I said, just read it, because I knew it was something that would make her feel. And you have to feel and get out the feelings. And she was just like, wow. She would call me in the middle of the night, like crying.
You have to feel those emotions.
You have to feel those, and you have to express yourself. And that's why I did it, is so people would do that. Whether it's painting or dance or music, the medium doesn't matter. You have to express yourself and get your feelings out, because you're artistic in many ways.
Yeah, I love this. I really think your poetry, from what I've seen of it, is real. It's easy to understand.
Simple. I never thought that I would publish a book. I never thought that my poems would be good enough to publish. That was never my intention.
Well, they definitely are. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with you. And thank you for joining us. We'll be right back with Tami Belt in just a moment.
Thank you for calling Denim Revival.
Hate to say goodbye to your favorite jeans? Well, now you don't have to, because Denim Revival is here for you. Mail us your jeans and our professionals will fix it right up. We offer you all kinds of alteration services, including invisible repairs, let-outs, taperings, and original hemming, or even have your own custom-made jeans. Quoted the best denim repair shop by GQ, Vogue Magazine, and LA Times. Denim Revival, your search for alteration and repair ends here.
Love is the essence of beauty, and at Vegas Beauty Skin Center, we love what we do. Fall in love with your skin again. From our laser services to eyebrow threading and facials, everything we do at Vegas Beauty Skin Center is about helping you look your best. Come to Vegas Beauty Skin Center, where every client is number one. Call 702-722-6464. LVAC members receive 20% off all services.
Hello, this is The World of Book Reviews. I'm Judi Moreo, your host, and we're talking with Tami Belt about her wonderful book, Poetic Justice, Lessons of Love, Life, and Relationships. And Tami has been writing these poems since she was 12 years old, and it's a book of incredible poetry. And what I like about it is I feel I can understand it. I never really understood poetry. You know, we had to study it in school, and I never got really into it. But your poetry is different. Your poetry is about life. It touches on things that people feel, that people experience, that you experienced, right?
Yes. And that's the thing. We're humans having an experience, and we're more alike than we're different. And that's the thing, I guess, that touched everybody that's read it and reviewed it. We've been through the same things, and it's okay. The good, the bad, the ugly. Life is messy. It's what makes it delicious. And the detours and the things that didn't happen the way we thought they were going to happen, and sometimes, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know. So, and
because life doesn't turn out
No.
like we thought it would.
oh, that's what makes God laugh, is when you tell him your plans. You know, you don't know. And it's okay. And the more mistakes you make, celebrate them, the better. You know, what's next? You know, Tom Peters said, fail faster.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I grew up listening to between spirituality and business books. And so to me, it was all the same. And Louise Hay was somebody who I listened to all the time, and Balboa Press is the publisher.
Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, you want to talk about just the whole 360 thing, and it was her book way back when, You Can Heal Your Life, that I listened to when I was young, after I'd come out of an abusive marriage, that gave me the foundation to not look at myself as a victim, And so I never did. And that was part of the whole thing about publishing the book. And I would reread the poems every year, once a year. And again, I would see things differently, and the perspectives would change in front of my mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know that when I wrote my book, You Are More Than Enough, I wrote it from what I believed at that time, and yet now, 10 years later, I still find myself reading parts of it and thinking, did I write that?
When I reread my poems, some of the ones that are more profound I wrote when I was young, I didn't even know what I was saying. There's layers and layers, and you know, you learn and you grow, and there's layers.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you look back at what you've done and you think, that's pretty good.
A musician friend of mine got the book, and he messaged me and he goes, "How old were you when you wrote these?" I said, "I started when I was 12, and it is not in chronological order. I couldn't go back and tell you the years, and some of them I could, but most of them, I literally, I've got a pile like this at home of paper, and they were handwritten, and some of them are on bar napkins, because when they came, I just had to, and I
write them down wherever you were.
Yeah, I did, and I kept them, and I just have this pile, because everybody has a story that someone in the world needs to hear. Not always out in public, but that conversation, you know, like you too, or that happened to you, or yeah, everybody needs that, because you're not the only one going through what you're going through.
No, mm-mm.
You never are.
Now, are your poems about your life, or are they also about other people's lives?
It's my life.
It's your life.
It's my life. I have written a few poems, like 2 or 3 for other people, like when somebody got married or something. That's hard. That's really, really hard for me. I can't sit down and go, I'm going to write a poem. I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to do that. These just came. They just came.
They came from emotion.
Mm-hmm. There's one that when my friends were starting to have kids, they were like, oh my gosh, am I going to be a good mom? And this poem kind of came out of me. Of course you're going to be a good mom. Just imagine what you were like when you were a child, and it's called Imagine. I can imagine things so wild, like the uninhibited mind of an untouched child. Before their spirit is broken by an adult's reality, their imagination will soar, just like the one in me. And it ends up saying, just once more, let your imagination run wild before you teach all you know to your child.
Amazing.
And I would give it to them as part of their gift, you know, at the baby shower.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Tami Belt and her wonderful book, Poetic Justice.
Snap-on dentures will change your life. And at Smiles Today Dental, we now offer the lowest price in town. Mini dental implants can stabilize your loose dentures permanently. Call Smiles Today Dental for a free consultation.
Hi, I'm attorney Eric Palacios. If you or a loved one is facing criminal charges, don't go to court alone. Call me at 444-7777. We can get you the best deal and keep you out of jail. Call 444-7777.
Hello, this is Judi Moreo, and this is the World of Book Reviews, and we are talking with Tami Belt about her wonderful book, Poetic Justice. We were just talking about your poem, Imagine. And it was interesting because a few minutes ago I thought I should hand Tami her book and ask her to read some of her poetry. And then you just quoted it. You didn't even need to read it. It just came out of your mouth. And I thought, well, maybe I wonder how many of them she can do.
Parts of some of them I used to be able to. It's fading.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you can remember them word for word like that.
Some of them, not all of them.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about this beautiful cover.
Oh my gosh. The cover is done by the talented Jennifer Maine. She was born and raised here in Las Vegas. Her and her husband live in LA now. But I have been a fan of her work for years and years, and I've always wanted a commission piece. And when I was trying to come up with a cover for my book, I was sitting there thinking, I was going, I don't know what. I'm like, I need Jennifer Maine's work. And I didn't know if I could afford it. And so I contacted her because I know her. I've worked with her at charity events and different things, and I have several of her pieces. And I contacted her and I said, Jennifer, this is my book. Here's what it's about. I don't know if I can afford you, but I want you to do the cover. And she called me back and she goes, it would be an honor. I love it. I love the whole reason behind it, the expressing yourself. She goes, that's why I do art. And she came back with this on the first try, and we both just cried. And there's my bucket list. There's my commissioned piece.
Yes. And it's on your book.
It's on my book.
And it's beautiful.
She is amazing.
I think it has the essence of your poems.
It does. She got it like that the first time. Like I said, I cried. I cried when I looked at it. Because she goes, what do you want? And I said, oh no, I want you to create something because I love your work. And I love how you express your feelings, and just, yeah, she got it.
She got it, didn't she? Is there another book?
I don't know. Not another book of poems. There's not that many poems that didn't get into this one.
Yeah.
and the poems aren't there anymore. I don't know, maybe about something about how to help an individual excavate, craft, and share their story, and how to rewrite the ending of their story. How to take control of it and to rewrite the ending. So they're not stuck in a pattern, and they can create their future. So there might be something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd be very, very good at something like that.
Yeah, that's why I want to use that as a launching pad for public speaking, not to just help the companies and charities, which I've been doing through PR, helping them, share their stories, but on a more personal basis because of things that I went through, to go and talk to women and children even, because imagination is not something that's in schools anymore.
No, it isn't, is it?
Crushing them out, and I want children to write books. I had a girlfriend in college when she got married and got pregnant. She goes, you can write my children books. And I thought, and I said, nope, I want your children to write me books. I said, you record them and you write it down and you let them keep telling the story as they get older and older and older, and you keep their imagination alive. And she's like,
yeah, because children have wonderful imaginations, and they can tell fabulous stories.
I would write Dr. Seuss-like stories. I'd go off on my own at my grandparents' house. And it's amazing. Children are incredible. And their views of things, it's just, it's amazing. My friend Deborah had me come over one night when her daughter was having a sleepover with a bunch of girls. She goes, I need help. And we rounded them up, and we had them start telling a story in a circle.
Oh, yes.
From one kid to the next. And she's like, they were fascinated. Those kinds of things, to help women reframe their stories and heal from them, because you heal once you get it out. Once you're heard and you can get it out, you heal. And then to just nurture those imaginations that are so precious and they're so vivid. Stories literally saved my life. I started writing stories in elementary school when my sister would have me read ghost stories. And my imagination was so vivid that they would become real, and I would have horrible nightmares. And so I got up one night in the middle of the night, and I sat down and pretended I was in front of a campfire, and I retold the story that was giving me nightmares, but I changed the ending. I don't know why I did that. I don't know how I knew to do that, but I changed the ending so I didn't die in elementary school, and that began my storytelling career.
That's amazing.
It went from that to poems as therapy. Yeah.
I think you still have a lot of that imagination at this time, don't you?
Yeah.
That's good. I was just at a writers' conference in Ecuador, and I was listening to one of the fiction writers talking about writing, and he said all fiction writers are basically liars. And I I remember at the time I thought, what? You know, but then I thought back to my childhood and my imagination, and I would tell these enormous stories, and people would say, don't pay any attention to her because she exaggerates. And it was almost as like they were saying I was lying, and maybe in a way I was, because I would take a little bit of a story and make it into this big, huge story because it was more interesting that way. And I think that's probably why I became a writer.
And see, you need to take those stories along with your art and illustrate it. Yes. Now that would
be fun,
wouldn't that be fun? Keep that inner child going.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Tami Belt and her beautiful book, Poetic Justice.
Larry, I'm especially proud of the Westport sofa. It's 100% genuine leather.
100% leather?
Leather everywhere, and it's well constructed.
It feels great. The lumbar cushion is perfect.
And it's only $7.99.
$7.99 for 100% genuine leather? You should be proud.
$7.99, Larry's price.
Which means it's honest, unbeatable, and available to you every day. Only at Walker Furniture.
Hi, this is Judi Moreo, and this is the World of Book Reviews. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're talking with Tami Belt about her beautiful book, Poetic Justice, and she's such a delightful person. It's really fun to talk to you because I do feel like you still have that child within, that you still have that imagination and that creativity that so many people lose as we grow older, and you just feel like you're so full of life and fun.
Yeah, I grew up once. I didn't like it. I'll never do it again.
That's a good thing to look at.
It's true. I mean, I still want to go swing on swings. I still want to go play. You know, I want. Why is it that the slide you go down to go into the balls? Why is it all just for kids? Why? That's wrong.
Well, they have them in water parks that us bigger people can do.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want one in my backyard. You know, and with the tree house.
Yes.
So, yeah, I want a tree house.
Well, I think tree houses are a wonderful experience.
Yes.
And they have some in some places around the world where you can go and rent the tree house. And actually, I think it's somewhere in Oregon or Washington, they have tree houses that as writers can go and rent the tree house and stay in it, and they actually will bring you your meals and everything.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, someone was telling me about that, and I was thinking that would be a cool thing for writers to do. You know,
or take the train ride across the country and write. Yeah, I want to play and write. I want to be a playwright. Play and write.
Yeah. There's a contest that comes out once a year that if you win the contest, you get to go on the train for 6 months or something as a writing sabbatical. And they pay all your expenses and everything. I saw the contest about 3 years ago. I entered it. I didn't win it, unfortunately, so I didn't get to go live on a train. But there's so many wonderful things for writers. I think the experience of writing and of meeting other writers, like this writing conference I just went to in Ecuador, there were writers from all over the world there, and they were fascinating. And people write about so many diverse things.
Yes, and for different reasons.
Yes, yes. So
how wonderful! One day, one day.
Why did you intentionally write this book to heal, or did it just happen?
It just happened. Well, the poems literally, it was my therapy, and I never intended anybody to read it. It's like a window into my diary, into certain snippets of time. You know, little bits and pieces of time. At my book reading, people asked me if I ever went back and rewrote the poems, and I said, no. I said, I've rewritten what they mean, or, you know, things like that, but I'm not going to rewrite the poem. That would be like changing your diary.
Yes.
You know, I never intended to publish it, but...
Why did you publish it?
I got to the point after rereading, once a year I would go back and reread, and I had some friends that would give me a hard time. Would you quit living in the past? But it was absolute opposite of living in the past. It was to reflect on where I'd been, to celebrate how far I'd come, and to pave a path for what's next, you know, for the future, to see, you know, the possibilities. And I just realized how much it helped. And I'm like, people, because the imaginations are taken out in elementary school and people don't express themselves, everybody thinks that they're a writer because they can post stuff on Facebook, and that is not writing. You know, it's not.
No.
No, it's a deep thing, like the poem Poets for Madmen. It's a deep, even if you're writing good things, it's a process, you know, an excavation process. And so that's why I wrote it, because at the very end of the back cover it says it doesn't matter what's your medium, you have to express yourself and get it out, and people need to do that more at a deep level, whether they paint or dance or do music. And songs inspired so many poems. I wish my poems could be songs.
Yes.
But they're not written like that. I've asked my musician friends and they're not.
They say they're not quite ready for music.
They're not ready. You'd have to rewrite. No, I'm not going to rewrite them.
But they're very good.
Thank you.
Tammy, would you tell our audience how they can get a copy of your book?
The book is available on Amazon and Balboa Press, so they can go there. There's also a link from my website to purchase the book. My website is www.bluecube.com, and that's where they can get my book.
And how could they contact you if they would like to be in touch?
They can contact me from the website, or they can email me at Tami, that's T-A-M-I, at onebluecube.com.
Is there a story behind that blue cube?
That's the name of my company, my PR company.
Ah.
Because I love Picasso and the Cubism and the blue period. I love blue.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah. And you have to think outside the box, whether you're writing or telling your story. And the box in terms of PR, you have to think outside of the computer, the TV, the radio, and you have to actually meet people and get in touch with them. So that's the story behind the blue cube, and it's an unfinished cube because Picasso's Cubism is an unfinished cube. So that's the story of the cube.
Well, it's been an absolute delight to have you on the show. You're a lovely person, and I've really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the book, and I know that you will enjoy it too. So go out and get yourself a copy, or get to Amazon or Tammy's website and get a copy of the book, because it is very good, and the poems are very enlightening. And thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you to my producer, Amy Kardashian, for all that she's done for this show, and I hope we'll see you again real soon.